Hey guys, Josh Collacchi here with RotoCurve, and we're here to talk about today's pitching options for Wednesday, July 1st, 2015. Obviously, last night was a great night for pitchers with Chris Sale dominating. You saw guys like Ian Kennedy posted a pretty good number. Mike Montgomery with another shutout. It's 4 straight great starts for him, and it just made for another night of good pitching. So for tonight, although it's an 11-game slate with some other games today, there are some options we have to look at. Now, you're not going to see a ton of aces like you did last night with Sale, Hamels, guys like Sonny Gray before he was stretched. You're going to have to look at some second-tier guys, which means tonight might be a night to spend up for bats. But I'm here to discuss some pitching options with you today so you can afford some of those bats. The first guy I like, my top option on the day, is Carlos Carrasco against the Rays. You've heard us talk about right-handed pitchers against the Rays a lot in the past, and it's for good reason. They're one of the top options I like to target against for right-handed pitchers, especially if that pitcher's strikeout rate is high. Carrasco is one of those guys. He has a 26.6 strikeout rate this season, which is 9th in Major League Baseball, meaning that he had the ability to rack up a lot of strikeouts and work deep into games while getting those strikeouts. He has struggled at home a little bit this season, but tonight he faces the Rays on the road in Tropicana Field, and his ERA is actually 1 run lower on the road, so that's just another option for him to add to the check boxes. The Rays rank last in the bottom half of the MLB in pretty much every category that I like to use, and that's batting average, isolated power, WOBA, which is weighted on base average, and slugging percentage. So that gives Carlos Carrasco the matchup to pretty much do whatever he needs to do as a right-handed pitcher. Ability to get those Ks as well. It makes him for the top option on the day. Now, he is very expensive, but I think it's worth paying for today because he's probably the only top-priced pitcher that's worth paying for. Now, he has those pitches we just talked about. We've talked about in the past. He has a great slider, one of the best in baseball, that could really neutralize right-handed hitters, which the Rays have a lot of. But they do have some lefties. Now, Carrasco's using his changeup a lot more this year, and that's given him the ability to neutralize those left-handed bats. So neither the right-handed batters or left-handed batters really tend to hit him a lot this year, which is another reason why I like to target him. So a guy with high strikeout potential, a guy that has a great matchup, and a guy that has 2 really good pitches, it makes for the top option on the day. Now, you're going to need some other options today because a lot of people will be on Carrasco, and that's why I want to talk about 2 lower-priced guys, the first one being Jose Quintana against the Cardinals. He's just $6,900 on DraftKings and $7,700 on FanDuel, which means if you take him, you're going to have a lot more money to spend on the other positions. The reason why I like Quintana today against the Cardinals is because the Cardinals against left-handed batters are one of the only matchups in baseball that checks all the boxes that you heard us discuss here at RotoCurve. The boxes that I discussed, as I just mentioned, are batting average, slugging percentage, isolated power, WOBA, and strikeout percentage against. And the Cardinals are among the lowest in all those numbers and have the second highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitchers this year. So it gives Quintana that top-tier option. Now, we saw yesterday what happened with the Cardinals against left-handed pitching. But Chris Sale is a lot better than Jose Quintana. There's no doubt about that. Now, Quintana is not a bad pitcher. He's been a lot better this year. He has 5 straight quality starts. The only issue with him is he has inconsistent strikeout numbers, but he does have the ability to rack up the strikeouts. And you saw earlier this year, I believe he had 11 against the Astros. Now, the one thing is the Cardinals have been known quite a bit to not be a big strikeout team, but that's only against right-handed pitching. Against lefties, I mentioned earlier that they have the second highest strikeout rate. That's something to look at with Quintana, and I think he's a top tournament option for me today. And I think he should be for you as well because he gives you that ability to fit more bats into your lineup. The last pitcher I want to talk about today is Chris Heston against the Marlins. Now, yesterday you heard me talk about I'm targeting right-handed pitching against the Marlins, especially when Carlos Stanton is out. And yesterday Ryan Vogelsong got roughed up a little bit, but he was just one misplay away from having a 6-inning, 1-earned-run game. And that misplay unfortunately turned into a 3-run inside the park home run by D. Gordon. But talking about the Marlins, is they struggle mightily against righties all season. Now, as we all know, Giancarlo Stanton is out as well, so that makes their lineup a lot less frightening and a lot more attractive to target against when we're looking at pitching, and that's what Chris Heston does today. Heston has 6 or more strikeouts in 5 of his last 6 games, and he actually has 2 double-digit strikeout games in his last 9 starts, so his strikeouts are really coming along. And it's something to look at because he doesn't throw very hard. He has a few good pitches, a good slider, decent curveball, and changeup. But he's been able to use that movement to strike out a lot of batters. Now, that movement can come in handy against the Marlins because they have a lot of young batters who are very free swingers, and that gives Heston the ability to get a lot of strikeouts. Now, his issue in the past is I've been working deep into games, but considering the fact he has a very high ground ball rate, that means he's getting a lot more outs more efficiently. And last year he had a lower ground ball rate, and that's why he struggled to work deep into games. But given the fact that Heston has that great matchup today against the Marlins, he has a very high ground ball rate, and he's been striking a lot of hitters out. He's like my third option today, and I would probably pair him with Quintana in a lot of tournaments, or use Heston as by himself on FanDuel or one-pitcher sites, and in the addition to having a cheap pitching option so you can fit a lot of more expensive bats. So that wraps up our pitching segment today. I really like Carrasco. I'll be using him a lot in my cash games, but I also like Quintana and Chris Heston as well. So be sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's edition of the pitching picks. And this has been Josh Collacchi for RotoCurve.